As soon as the flying insects appeared, they immediately scattered, dividing into 5 groups and charging towards the crowd. Du Jian's face changed drastically, turning pale as if all the blood had drained from him. He had witnessed the terrifying power of these flying insects before. Back then, the puppet had been devoured instantly as the insects burrowed into its body, consuming its flesh, blood, and soul. Without hesitation, Du Jian slapped his storage pouch, and a life-saving jade slip, gifted by Tian Yunzi, appeared in his hand. This jade slip had 3 chances to save his life, and he had already used one of them. This was now the second. A burst of 7-colored light erupted from the jade slip, enveloping Du Jian's entire body. The moment the light appeared, the flying insects did not scatter as expected, but instead all lunged at him, surrounding him tightly. The sound of cracking filled the air. To Du Jian, the cracking noise sent a chill down his spine. He immediately shouted, "Help me, Brother Murong. Help me." Murongzhua hesitated for a moment before making a hand gesture with his right hand. As his immortal energy flowed, a black aura formed a handprint on his palm. He slapped forward, and the black handprint, accompanied by a sharp whistle, shot directly at the insects that were surrounding Du Jian. With a loud bang, the black handprint passed through the insects as if they were nothing, and even Du Jian, wrapped in the swarm, seemed almost transparent. The handprint passed through his body and directly struck the gap behind him. This bizarre scene caused Murongzhua to freeze in place, his expression darkening as he stared at the insects with a grim look. Meanwhile, Zhao Xuan gazed at the insects with a deep look in her eyes. Su Fei, beside her, seemed to contemplate briefly, but almost instantly, the thought vanished as Wang Lin's gaze casually swept across her. All of this unfolded in an incredibly short amount of time. When Wang Lin saw that Murongzhua's divine ability had been ignored by the insects, his eyes suddenly brightened. Murongzhua took a step forward, making a series of hand gestures. Divine abilities surged from his body, transforming into various attacks, but without exception, they all passed right through the insects. The cracking noises continued, and the 7-colored light around Du Jian rapidly dimmed. Despair flickered in Du Jian's eyes, but at that moment, his mind suddenly cleared. He looked at Wang Lin urgently and shouted, "Wang Lin, I know some secrets about our master. If you save me, I'll tell you everything." Wang Lin completely ignored him, his focus on the insects, his eyes filled with contemplation. To him, these insects were extremely strange. They had initially scattered to attack the crowd, but upon seeing the 7-colored light around Du Jian, they immediately converged. If these insects finish consuming Du Shixiang, they will definitely target us next. If we don't leave now, we might never get another chance, Zhao Xuan whispered, her hair lightly swaying. At that moment, the 7-colored light surrounding Du Jian suddenly shattered. With a violent shock to his spirit, Du Jian immediately activated his final life-saving divine ability. The jade slip shattered into dust, dispersing into the air. However, the cracking sounds continued, echoing like a death knell in Du Jian's heart, growing more frantic with each passing moment. "Wang Lin, I know the secret about Sun Yun from your purple lineage. I know why you betrayed our master. If you save me, I'll tell you everything." Du Jian gritted his teeth and finally revealed his greatest secret. Wang Lin remained unfazed. He glanced at Du Jian and then raised his right hand. A brilliant golden light appeared in his palm, radiating with the intensity of the sun. It was one of the 11 golden talismans in his cave mansion. The golden light blazed, driving away all the surrounding darkness. In an instant, the flying insects surrounding Du Jian let out loud, frantic shrieks and quickly turned, flying straight towards the golden talisman in Wang Lin's hand. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed. He knew his judgment was correct. These insects were extremely sensitive to light. In fact, they seemed to feast on brightness. Wang Lin took several steps back and slapped his storage pouch. A translucent, jade-like brush appeared in his hand. With a flick, several runes appeared in the flashing golden light. The insects split into multiple groups, each diving towards the runes, swirling around them and devouring their essence. Wang Lin's right hand continued to move the brush, forming rune after rune. In truth, there were not that many insects, only a few hundred, but their small size and ethereal bodies made them appear much more numerous. They swarmed around the dozen or so runes, constantly feeding. This scene stunned everyone, especially Zhao Xuan and Su Fei. For the first time, both of them shared the same expression, shock. The same expression fell into Wang Lin's eyes, and his mind jolted. He finally understood why he had such a strange feeling when looking at these two people. But at this moment, he had no time to think about it. His body swayed and immediately appeared beside Du Jian, who was equally shocked. With a swift grab of his hand, Jian, after all, was a disciple of Tian Yunzi and the seventh elder of the Crimson lineage. Although he had not reached the peak, his divine abilities were still formidable. At this critical moment, he bit his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of his primordial spirit blood. The blood boiled in midair, transforming into particles. If it touched the body, even someone with Wang Lin's cultivation would have deep pits melted into their flesh. A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. With a wave of his sleeve, Jian's blood was immediately swept aside. This technique, which fused the essence blood into the primordial spirit, wasn't complex and was a common skill among cultivators. But this particular move was extremely harmful to the primordial spirit, essentially self-harming to kill the enemy. Taking advantage of this, Jian immediately retreated. He slapped his storage pouch, and black, fleshy tumors appeared in his hand. A reluctant expression appeared in his eyes. Though these tumors were ugly, they were the result of years of painstaking effort to refine the filthy flesh. Even a small touch of it would immediately defile the entire body of a cultivator. This was a highly sinister magical artifact. Gritting his teeth, Jian tossed them out. The tumors exploded in midair, sending a rotten stench straight at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes grew colder. As his body moved, a yellow spring emerged from his right hand with a flick of his finger, sweeping across the falling corrupted flesh and drawing it into the yellow spring. The yellow spring, the most polluted river in the world, only grew more powerful as the tumors entered it. It didn't weaken its power in the least. Jian was indeed very strong among his peers. This fleshy tumor artifact could keep him in an undefeated position. However, in Wang Lin's eyes, with his Tao concept, Jian's cultivation was still insufficient, unless the man could break through his mental barriers and take the step toward truly challenging the peak. Like a force breaking through bamboo, Wang Lin's right hand shot out like lightning and grabbed Jian, whose eyes were filled with despair. Without any questions, Wang Lin's immortal power circulated and immediately sealed Jian's primordial spirit, cutting off its connection to his body. Then, he slapped his storage pouch. With a wave of the soul banner in his hand, countless restrictions enveloped Jian, forming a restriction orb similar to Yao Shishue's, which Wang Lin then tossed into his storage pouch. All of this was done swiftly and cleanly by Wang Lin. Even if Zhou Yi had wanted to speak, it was already too late. Wang Lin turned, his immortal brush making a swift motion, and golden talismans immediately flew around him. The flying insects on these talismans were oblivious to the outside world, solely focused on devouring the golden light that radiated from them. However, this golden light seemed endless. No matter how much they consumed, it didn't decrease in the slightest. Wang Lin's gaze flickered. With the point of his left-hand index finger, the annihilation finger wind howled, directly penetrating one of the talismans without any obstruction. This obvious scene, combined with Zhou's divine abilities falling short, immediately caught Zhao Xuan and Su Fei's attention. Zhou's eyes revealed a trace of shock, and he spoke in a low voice, invulnerable to divine abilities. Upon hearing this, a hint of greed flashed in Zhao Xuan's eyes, while Su Fei's expression remained normal, though her pupils contracted slightly. Only Zhou had no greed in his gaze, despite his surprise. Let's continue, fellow Taoists. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he was surrounded by over 10 golden talismans covered in flying insects. He gave off an overwhelming presence. Wang Lin's body sank slightly, and he continued to fly downward. Zhou said nothing more and followed suit. As for Zhao Xuan and Su Fei, after a brief hesitation, they followed behind, but kept their distance from Wang Lin, evidently wary of him. Invulnerable to divine abilities, Wang Lin shook his head inwardly as he flew. He didn't believe there could be such a beast that could ignore divine abilities in this world, much less these flying insects. If there were really a divine ability that was ignored, then it could only mean that the ability itself was not powerful. Wang Lin's right hand gathered a thread of Ling Tianhou's sword intent, lightly brushing it against one of the flying insects. The insect trembled, but did not die. A trace of surprise flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He only had one thread of Ling Tianhou's sword intent left, and using even less than 1% of it was his limit. The four of them continued to fall toward the tidal abyss. With the help of the crystal stones, Wang Lin had identified several dangerous areas, and despite some delays, they managed to overcome them one by one with his and Zhou's combined efforts. Zhao Xuan and Su Fei also contributed quite a bit, especially Zhao Xuan, whose divine abilities were very strange. Often, there was no sign of her actions, but their power unfolded silently and without a sound. In contrast, Su Fei appeared somewhat lacking. Since Wang Lin had begun to harbor suspicions, he observed carefully along the way. The more he looked, the more certain he became. I didn't expect to encounter someone from that sect here. Wang Lin retracted his gaze and chose not to pay any further attention to the two women. As long as they didn't provoke him, he had no desire to expose their secrets. As for Murongzhou, this person's divine abilities were impressive enough to catch Wang Lin's attention. His abilities were extremely complex, and throughout their interactions, Wang Lin had never seen him use the same ability twice. Wang Lin considered his own cultivation and thought that while he could defeat Murongzhou in battle, doing so without using magical artifacts would likely result in injury. But could Murongzhou lack any magical artifacts? If Murongzhou's escape abilities were as peculiar as those of the short old man Wang Lin had encountered before, then if Murongzhou wished to flee, Wang Lin would have no chance of catching him. The short old man's primordial spirit is locked within the soul banner. Once I rescue Zhou Yi and handle the Tidal Abyss issue, I must focus on refining these divine abilities. With Murongzhou's cooperation, the two of them finally reached the middle lower section of the Tidal Abyss. Wang Lin's heart stirred slightly, but he suppressed it. The deeper they went, even Bei Luo's crystal could no longer provide a clear view, only giving a rough outline. However, Wang Lin was close to his goal. Zhou Yi's true body, which had been sensed by the ancient demon Bei Luo, was right here. But even with Bei Luo's strength, pinpointing the exact location was difficult. Brother Murong, I have other matters to attend to and won't be accompanying you further, Wang Lin cupped his hands and said. After a brief pause, he glanced at Murongzhou's calm face and added, I'm glad to have met you during this Tidal Abyss expedition. If you ever need anything from me, feel free to ask. It was rare for Wang Lin to speak in such a manner, given his usual nature. Though Murongzhou had been mostly silent along the way, when it came time to act, he had never hesitated. He also showed no greed when it came to treasures. Having no deep ties, Wang Lin did not say much more. Murongzhou flashed a rare, slight smile and nodded toward Wang Lin. Without saying anything, he flew downward. Wang Lin thought for a moment before sending a voice transmission. Brother Murong, be cautious of Zhao and Su. If I'm not mistaken, they should be from the cultivation sect. One of them must be a corpse possessed by a primordial spirit. Murongzhou did not look at Zhao and Su, nor did he show any reaction on his face, as though he hadn't heard Wang Lin's voice transmission. He flew deeper into the abyss. However, his gaze flickered slightly and, in a manner unseen by others, he grew cautious. The cultivation sect, he had heard of it. This sect's power far surpassed that of an ordinary cultivation nation. Their branches could be found on almost every cultivation planet, and their influence was immense. Zhao Xuan and Su Fei bid farewell to Wang Lin and flew downward as well. However, as Su Fei lowered her head, she casually brushed a lock of hair with her right hand, and a strand of broken hair fell, gently sticking to a nearby crevice in the wall. Once the three figures had disappeared into the distance, a cold gleam flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. His gaze shifted to the distant crack in the cliff. With a flick of his hand, the broken hair floated toward him, where he pinched it between his fingers. It seems my warning wasn't enough, Wang Lin sneered. Rubbing his fingers, green flames immediately ignited on the hair, and a divine sense emanated from it. Before it could fully take shape, Wang Lin opened his mouth and exhaled a breath of primordial spirit energy. With a single puff, the divine sense shattered instantly. Below in the tidal abyss, Su Fei's body trembled as a trace of blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. A look of shock appeared in her eyes. The divine abilities of the cultivation sect are indeed formidable. Their concealed divine sense is nearly undetectable. I must be more cautious in the future. The woman named Su Fei must be the true body, as she is capable of binding her divine sense to her hair. This means that Zhao Xuan is most likely a corpse puppet. A flash of thought crossed Wang Lin's mind. His ability to identify Su Fei's identity was related to his experience with the servant Sun Tai, whom Zhou Yi had forced upon him years ago. Sun Tai had a corpse puppet, just a small child, but it was very agile and possessed formidable cultivation. The relationship between Sun Tai and the child seemed special, not simply one of control, but as if they were two distinct individuals. Recalling Sun Tai's corpse puppet, Wang Lin couldn't help but think of Situ Nan, who had taken possession of the child's body. I wonder where Situ Nan is now. He's probably living the life of a mortal prince on some cultivation planet. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a hint of nostalgia. In that moment, he was no longer the ruthless killer, but a mere mortal reminiscing about an old friend. And then there's Sun Tai. He's the Grand Elder of the Corpse in Sect on Vermilion Birdstar. He was tossed into the starry void by the ancient ancestor of the giant demon clan. Now, I don't know where he is. Wang Lin took a deep breath, regaining his focus. His eyes sharpened as he scanned the surrounding abyssal cracks. There were at least dozens of them here, none of which emanated Zhou Yi's aura. Wang Lin would have to search them all himself. Zhou Yi Sr. was sealed in this land of demonic spirits by the sword venerable, Ling Tianhou. Therefore, there must be traces of Ling Tianhou's aura left in the cracks of the seal. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened as he expanded his divine sense, carefully inspecting every corner of his surroundings. It wasn't long before Wang Lin's brows furrowed in thought. He checked all the cracks around him, but found no signs of Zhou Yi's presence. Wang Lin's expression darkened. He slapped his storage pouch, and the crystal given by the ancient demon Bailuo appeared in his hand. Wang Lin immersed his divine sense into it. After a moment, his brows tightened even more, and he withdrew his divine sense from the crystal. If Bailuo is not lying, and if he indeed found Zhou Yi, then it must be here. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with deep thought. Bailuo shouldn't lie to me about something so trivial to him. It wouldn't make sense for him to deceive me in this matter. If he wanted to harm me, he could have taken direct action. After all, his primary goal now is to devour the other 7 demons. Unless he tricked me into coming here to use me as a tool for his own agenda. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed coldly. After a few moments, he scanned the area again, but shook his head in disappointment. If he said Zhou Yi is at the very bottom of the tidal abyss, there might have been a higher chance of him setting me up. But here, it seems entirely ordinary. Wang Lin was deep in thought as his divine sense spread out again. This time, he was more thorough, carefully searching each crack. Unfortunately, the result was the same. Wang Lin fell silent. After a few breaths, he slapped his storage pouch again, and the soul banner appeared in his hand. With a flick, over 1,000 powerful souls flew out from within the banner. Under Wang Lin's control, the souls scattered, heading for every crack. Wang Lin closed his eyes, his primordial spirit merging with these souls, as if personally inspecting each crack. Every crevice was searched thoroughly. This time, he was even more meticulous, not leaving a single trace unnoticed. After the incense had burned down, thousands of souls returned. Wang Lin opened his eyes, his face grim. I've carefully searched every crack, top to bottom, but found no trace of Zhou Yi. Could it be that the ancient demon Bailuo really deceived me about this? Wang Lin flicked his sleeve, his eyes flickering with cold light. But then, his gaze suddenly sharpened. Wait. If I were Ling Tianhou, I wouldn't seal someone in such an obvious crack. If I were Ling Tianhou. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a deep contemplation as his body was filled with Ling Tianhou's sword qi, swirling within him. With a hint of Ling Tianhou's aura, Wang Lin's eyes cleared. Ling Tianhou's aura was one of dominance, confronting the heavenly Tao with his own strength, living a life of independence and arrogance. As the sword qi circulated through Wang Lin's body, his eyes grew more intense, filled with the same ruthless determination. If I were to seal a sword spirit that had been entangled for so long, I wouldn't just seal it simply. I'd make it bow to my dominance. If it resists, I would seal it for 1,000 years. If it still resists, I would seal it for 10,000 years. If it doesn't yield, I would destroy its spirit and turn it into a magical artifact, forcing it to submit to me. Wang Lin's eyes grew fierce as he scanned the cracks between the fissures. His gaze was filled with a sense of disdain, as if looking down upon everything. He carefully examined every gap between the cracks. As the dominant look in his eyes gradually faded, beads of sweat the size of beans formed on his forehead. When his expression finally returned to normal, he swayed slightly, his face pale. This Ling Tianhou's sword qi is too domineering. Just sensing it a little almost caused me harm. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and with a turn of his energy, he slapped his storage pouch. The immortal sword immediately flew into his hand, followed by the crescent blade. Wang Lin grabbed the immortal sword with his right hand and took a step forward. His body suddenly turned, and the sword immediately emitted a powerful surge of sword qi, forming a vortex of sword qi around him. Break! Wang Lin shouted in a low voice. His body froze, and in that instant, the vortex of sword qi exploded, sending sword qi in all directions. The deep abyss walls on both sides cracked, and with a series of cracking sounds, the cracks multiplied until they nearly covered the area up to 100 zhang. Crack! Wang Lin's voice boomed like thunder, reverberating around him. The abyss walls on both sides shattered, large chunks of rock and earth falling off. Within 100 zhang of the abyss, the sword qi swept through, shaking the ground and causing it to sink by an inch. Wang Lin's gaze flashed. He used the immortal sword again, and the sword chi spread out, endlessly shrinking the abyss walls. After half an instant, a faint crack appeared in one of the gaps. A trace of barely perceptible aura leaked from that tiny opening. The aura wasn't Zhou Yi's, but one filled with extreme dominance. Wang Lin formed a hand seal with his right hand and pointed forward. The immortal sword immediately howled out, with the crescent blade following closely behind. It shot towards the gap, swiftly circling around it. A large number of shattered stones fell away, revealing a hidden fracture deep within the abyss, 3 yards below the surface. It appeared right before Wang Lin. The gap wasn't large, only half a yard in height, but within it was pitch black. As soon as Wang Lin's divine sense probed inside, he was immediately slammed back by an incredibly domineering thought wave. The impact sent Wang Lin flying back, directly crashing into the abyssal wall on the opposite side. With a loud bang, cracks spread across the abyss wall behind him. His body was forcibly embedded in it. A mouthful of blood surged out from his body, trickling down the corner of his mouth. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with cold light. He moved, flying out from the wall. However, this action drained him further, and his face turned even paler. The impact of that thought wave had nearly caused his primordial spirit to collapse. Had he not reached the Tao-seeking stage, such a simple impact could have shattered his primordial spirit in an instant. How powerful! Wang Lin stared at the gap. He didn't know how deep it was, but he could now be certain that Zhou Yi was definitely inside. Because the thought wave that had just emerged belonged to one person alone, Ling Tianhou. Just the residual thought wave alone could kill any cultivator below the Tao-seeking stage. What level of cultivation has Ling Tianhou reached? The Tao-seeking stage's perfect completion meant the end of the first step in cultivation. Only after passing the test of the yin-yang, void, and realms could one step into the second step, shattered nirvana, the 3 realms of glimpse of nirvana, pure nirvana, and shattered nirvana. Tian Yunzi once mentioned that he was at the end of the second step. I consider him to be at the early stages of shattered nirvana. Ling Tianhou and Tian Yunzi were rivals for tens of thousands of years, so he must be formidable as well, probably having reached the perfect stage of the second realm, pure nirvana. A trace of determination appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. Compared to Ling Tianhou, Tian Yunzi, and others, his cultivation seemed insignificant. He hadn't even perfected the first step of cultivation, but Wang Lin's determination was unshakable. Ever since he entered the cultivation world as a teenager, he had relied on his own efforts to gradually reach this point, becoming a Tao-seeking powerhouse. Though Tao-seeking powerhouses seemed like ants in the eyes of those who had reached the second step, within the first step, achieving Tao-seeking was akin to ruling a territory. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his forehead glowing. 10,000 slaughter chi immediately transformed into the seal of life, spreading across his entire body. To be precise, this wasn't the full 10,000, but one last trace of it, which Wang Lin extracted and merged with his mind. With this, he could make the seal of life sustain endlessly, unless someone could destroy it with a single strike, shattering both his primordial spirit and this last trace within. He patted his storage pouch, and the demon armor turned into black threads, swirling around Wang Lin's body. As the demonic aura scattered, it formed into armor, enveloping him. The 10 or so golden talismans, surrounded by flying insects, slowly drifted around him, adding more protection. After doing this, Wang Lin paused, then took the soul banner from his storage pouch. The black banner unrolled, creating a large black cloud that engulfed Wang Lin. Over 100 million souls howled within it. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a determined gleam. His body moved forward, heading straight toward the 1-yard-wide gap. Wang Lin didn't have a deep connection with Zhou Yi, but that brief moment in the immortal realm left a lasting impression on Wang Lin's soul. The man who would burn his soul without hesitation for the woman he loved, his obsession wasn't touching, but the clarity in his eyes as he burned his soul was like the moon in the dark night. It moved everyone who saw it in that moment. The precious Tao-seeking crystal was given to Wang Lin only to protect this female corpse. Such a simple request, yet it was Zhou Yi's final wish before he died. Later, Zhou Yi transformed into the sword spirit of the Rain Immortal Sword, but the residual soul inside the female corpse, born of his love, vanished without a trace. In that moment, Zhou Yi seemed to hear the sound of the entire world shattering before him. When his heart died, he left with no hope, his sword aura shattered in the void, vowing to slay Ling Tianhou. At that moment, he sought death, because the woman he cared for was gone. Wang Lin's life was a real testament to the cruelty of the cultivation world. Most people he encountered had their own agendas, and only a rare few were engraved in his heart. Situnan, Dun Tian, Chi Hu, Zhou Yi. Back then, Wang Lin was merely a divine transformation cultivator, an insignificant junior in front of Zhou Yi, but now he had reached Tao seeking. He exhaled deeply and stepped forward, entering the gap. Some things, though one is fully aware of the danger, must still be done when a man is consumed by obsession. Years ago, when rescuing 13, Wang Lin fought the demon general alone. Today, in order to save Zhou Yi, even though the sword venerable Ling Tianhou's divine sense still lingers, it cannot stop Wang Lin's footsteps. The moment he stepped into the gap, the divine sense of sword venerable Ling Tianhou surged forward, brimming with overwhelming tyranny. It seemed like a tangible assault, roaring with a deafening sound. This domineering divine sense was like a sharp sword, its edge so fierce that it could pierce the heavens, directly stabbing toward Wang Lin. The black veil of his soul banner, the outermost layer of his body, also responded with a violent roar. Billions of souls converged, forming a soul banner curtain to block the piercing sword. However, Ling Tianhou's divine sense was too strong. As it surged, the defense formed by billions of soul banners was directly pierced by the sword, stabbing toward Wang Lin without hesitation. At this moment, a glimmer of determination flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He knew clearly that he should not move forward, but if he retreated, he would lose the chance to save Zhou Yi forever. A man's life must be lived according to his purpose. If one hesitates, even living for 10,000 years would be nothing but a chaotic existence. Wang Lin's determination transformed into decisive action as he took a step forward. In that instant, Ling Tianhou's divine sense, taking the form of a sword, became even more potent, howling as it came toward him. Without a word, Wang Lin swung his right hand in front of him. The golden symbols surrounding him instantly gathered, enveloping his entire body. As the sword light crashed down, it struck Wang Lin, and white electric arcs surged from the golden symbols and the flying insects within, swirling around him. Without hesitation, he took another step. Half of the flying insects surrounding him immediately stiffened, falling from the golden symbols. Wang Lin flicked his sleeve and stored them in his storage pouch. With this step, the divine sense erupted with an even more intense force, several times more powerful than before. Thunderous booms echoed in the narrow gap, merging into countless reverberations, like the wrath of the heavens. The divine sense swept forward, threatening to crush any intruder. The soul banner outside Wang Lin's body, unable to resist, was once again shattered. The divine sense imprinted directly onto his demon armor. In that moment, the demonic aura on his armor collapsed. Wang Lin felt an unimaginable force crashing toward him, and he even had the feeling that if he did not retreat, he would immediately be torn apart. However, feelings are just feelings. With Wang Lin's extraordinary self-control, he suppressed that sensation. The determination in his eyes grew even more intense. The scattered demon soul, branded into his primordial soul for over a century, was released for the first time. The demon soul, still unrefined and unstable, shot out from Wang Lin's forehead. This demon soul, with a single black eye and a crooked leg, howled with malicious laughter as it rushed toward Ling Tianhou's divine sense. As the demon soul appeared, an unprecedented surge of demonic energy erupted from Wang Lin's armor. This energy violently entered the demon soul, solidifying it from its ethereal state. It devoured Ling Tianhou's divine sense, and inside the soul, a storm of power erupted. The divine sense's tyrannical will rampaged within, and the demon soul let out a low growl. In its eyes, a flicker of clarity appeared as if struggling. At this moment, Wang Lin's primordial soul shook. He immediately sensed the instability of the demon soul and, without hesitation, his primordial soul moved. His divine sense reached into the demon soul, pulling at the mark inside it. Although unstable, this mark had been carved for nearly a century. As he guided the mark, the demon soul was immediately drawn back into Wang Lin's forehead. His demon armor also seemed to be pulled in, transforming into black threads, no longer solid. Wang Lin stored them in his pouch. With a step forward, he covered Tinjiang in an instant. But at that very moment, the third wave of divine sense arrived, more intense than before. Thunder roared, and even Ling Tianhou's voice could be faintly heard. The voice murmured, like a chant. Without the soul banner to resist and with no armor left, Wang Lin only had 100,000 imprints of life left. As the third wave of divine sense surged, these 100,000 imprints of life rapidly expanded into 1,000,000, resisting Ling Tianhou's divine sense with all their might. But within an instant, the million imprints of life shattered. Wang Lin's face twisted with strain, his veins bulging as he growled low. He slapped his storage pouch, and the divine chariot immediately flew out, crackling with lightning. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a thunder beast. The beast roared and charged directly into Wang Lin's path, crashing into the divine sense. The thunder beast's massive form glowed with a ball of lightning, crackling with energy. The thunder beast's body emitted a vast amount of lightning that crackled against the ground. Under the impact of Ling Tianhou's divine sense, it was continuously pushed back. Taking advantage of this moment of reprieve, Wang Lin immediately replenished the seal of life, transforming it into a million. A cold gleam flashed in his eyes. Passive defense was not the best option. If he wanted to break through, he needed to go on the offensive. Wang Lin took a step forward, his right hand extending to release the annihilation finger wind. His immortal power surged violently within him, and in an instant, streams of black light from the annihilation fingers shot out like arrows, howling as they rushed toward the invisible divine sense of Ling Tianhou, blocked by the thunder beast. The countless black rays from the annihilation finger wind were like a volley of arrows, sending ripples as they landed upon Ling Tianhou's divine sense. Wang Lin stepped forward again, raising his right hand to point, unleashing the demon transformation finger wind. His immortal power reversed, and thanks to the 4 drops of immortal liquid from years ago, even without replenishment from immortal jade, his immortal power had remained ever-flowing, like the seal of life, never diminishing. At that moment, under Wang Lin's demon transformation finger, the immortal energy immediately transformed into demonic aura. Merging with the scattered demon soul energy within his primordial spirit, it became an incredibly pure demonic aura, shooting out from Wang Lin's finger. It wasn't 1 stream, but 10. Immediately following that, Wang Lin raised his right hand again, and the Dao transformation yellow spring rolled out around him. Stepping on the yellow spring, he advanced a few more steps. All his divine abilities and techniques immediately coalesced, charging toward Ling Tianhou's divine sense. Feeling that the force wasn't enough, a cold gleam flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. The million seals of life transformed into slaughter chi. With the exception of a trace left in his primordial spirit, all of it was released with a single finger, charging forward. As for Ling Tianhou's sword energy within his body, Wang Lin wasn't foolish enough to use it in the face of Ling Tianhou's divine sense. He knew that the moment it manifested, it would immediately be taken by the opponent. At that instant, the entire tidal abyss seemed to tremble. On the abyss wall outside the crack, clumps of dirt and chunks of rock appeared to be enveloped by some mysterious force as they detached from the wall and floated upwards. All of Wang Lin's techniques suddenly collided with Ling Tianhou's divine sense. In that instant, the thunder beast let out an earth-shattering roar, transforming into a massive bolt of lightning, charging alongside Wang Lin's divine abilities toward Ling Tianhou's divine sense. At the entrance to the tidal abyss in the Water Demon County, a series of muffled sounds echoed, causing the ground to tremble as those sound waves were passing through. Even Murongshua, deep within the abyss, could feel the terrifying fluctuations above. Zhao and Su, who were beside him, immediately looked up, their eyes filled with shock. So terrifying. Could this be Wang Lin's doing? Su Fei gasped, the trace of resentment for the destruction of her divine sense by Wang Lin vanishing instantly. She made up her mind that someone like him was not someone she should provoke. Beyond the 3 of them, the powerful waves spread across the abyss wall, extending all the way to the bottom. The waves echoed continuously within the passage at the abyss's base. The passage, circular in shape, led to a dark void in the center, with a corridor path surrounding it. In one section of the corridor, a great sword was half embedded in the ground. As the waves spread, the sword trembled slightly. The waves spread across the corridor and far out. At the exit of the Flame Demon Province, where the mosquito beasts and black mist had trapped the great Luo sword Sect, the greedy wolf, who had been meditating with closed eyes, suddenly opened them, a sharp gleam flashing within. The aura of Ling Tianhou. Could he have arrived early? No, this aura, although it belongs to Ling Tianhou, is only a fragment. And besides his aura, there's another presence. This unfamiliar aura, appearing at this moment. Could it be here for the command token? Greedy Wolf glanced nonchalantly at the great Luo sword Sect disciples beside him before closing his eyes once more. The waves had dissipated by the time they reached here, and no one noticed except for Greedy Wolf. At the great Luo sword Sect, Ling Tianhou, sitting cross-legged in his Dao robe, suddenly opened and closed his eyes. The place where I sealed that sword spirit is extremely secretive. How could it have been discovered? But as long as that sword spirit holds on to thoughts of death, it will never escape the seal. Ling Tianhou muttered to himself for a moment before closing his eyes once more. Within the tidal abyss, in the crack that sealed Zhou Yi, Wang Lin's clothes whipped in the wind, creating a slapping sound. His body staggered back a few steps, his long hair flying wildly, and a cold gleam flashed in his eyes. The previous strike had dispelled Ling Tianhou's third wave of divine sense, but the cost was high. The thunder beast dispersed, turning into lightning shards that returned to the divine chariot. However, Ling Tianhou's divine sense had been forcefully opened up a gap. But in an instant, that gap began to close, about to vanish entirely. Within Wang Lin's body, blood and qi surged like a storm, and many of his meridians were blocked, causing a slight disruption in the flow of his immortal power. He took a deep breath but did not immediately adjust. Instead, he stepped forward, his body shooting like a meteor, crashing into the gap in Ling Tianhou's divine sense, heading straight for the deep crevice. As he charged forward, Wang Lin reached full speed, the sound of thunder booming around him. The gap here was not as narrow as Wang Lin had imagined. With this charge, he plunged directly into the depth of the fissure, where Zhou Yi's aura, faint but present, spread out from this location. Intruders die. Ling Tianhou's divine sense descended again. This time, a domineering voice echoed within it, directly reaching Wang Lin's ears, causing his body to involuntarily stagger back. The entire fissure, as the divine sense reverberated, immediately began cracking with a series of sharp sounds. Fine cracks appeared on the surrounding earthen walls. Wang Lin's primordial spirit was shaken by this sound, causing him to immediately lose his strength. A mouthful of fresh blood erupted from his mouth, and his complexion instantly turned pale. Ling Tianhou is too strong. Wang Lin sucked in a cold breath. To have such a powerful divine ability just by leaving a divine imprint to seal Zhou Yi here. What kind of existence would it be if Ling Tianhou himself came? Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He patted his storage pouch, and a translucent, crystal-like brush appeared in his hand. Holding the immortal brush, he swiftly made a stroke in front of him, and immediately, golden light flickered as a symbol appeared. The moment this symbol appeared, the dark crack immediately brightened. Without hesitation, Wang Lin made another stroke. 2 strokes, 3 strokes, 4 strokes. He did not stop at all and directly drew 7 strokes. This was Wang Lin's first time layering symbols after obtaining the immortal brush. When he had previously attracted the flying insects, he had only drawn a single symbol each time. Though there had been more than 10, each was a simple stroke. With each stroke, Wang Lin could clearly feel a portion of his primordial spirit merging with the symbol through the tip of the brush. The 7 symbols now contained 7 portions of his primordial spirit. 7 strokes was Wang Lin's limit. When he first obtained the immortal brush and attempted to refine it in the soul refining tribe, he had already tried drawing an 8th stroke, but his primordial spirit could not be divided into 9 parts. 1 portion remained in his physical body, and each of the 7 symbols contained 1 portion of his primordial spirit. They could not be separated unless he gave up his physical body and merged all his primordial spirit into the symbols, which would allow him to draw the 8th stroke. After drawing the 7th stroke, the immortal power within his body surged like a wild horse, bursting out of him and merging into the 7 symbols. The 7 strokes merged into a circular symbol. The appearance of this symbol was extremely strange, as if it contained the universe itself. Its appearance was like the sun setting in the sky, descending into this crack. Golden light shone from it, not only blinding the eyes but even piercing into the primordial spirit, causing pain. The immortal brush, combined with the immortal talisman, created these 7 symbols, truly a divine ability of an immortal. Its light pierced through the abyss wall, spreading like a sword through the surroundings. From outside the crevice, one could clearly see golden light seeping through the abyss wall, gradually illuminating the tidal abyss of Water Demon County, which had been dark for countless years. These 7 symbols, containing Wang Lin's 7 strands of divine sense, moved with such agility that it seemed as though they were extensions of his own body, floating towards the deepest part of the crack. Ling Tianhou's divine sense, under the piercing golden light of the symbols, showed signs of dissipating. But immediately, this dissipation stopped. A low growl came from Ling Tianhou's divine sense, and it suddenly surged forward, transforming into the image of Ling Tianhou himself. Wearing a Taoist robe, Ling Tianhou's eyes gleamed with dominance. As he took a step forward, his figure once again became ethereal, eventually transforming into a sword qi that charged straight towards the symbols. The symbols and the sword qi collided, and the entire tidal abyss reverberated with intense waves of energy. The terrifying shockwave caused countless cracks to collapse in an instant. This immense power shook the water demon county, alarming all the beings in the land of demonic spirits. Wang Lin's face turned pale as he coughed up 6 mouthfuls of blood, each filled with immense immortal power. The blood splashed onto the ground, leaving deep marks. The symbols shattered, and 6 of the 7 strands of primordial spirit within them collapsed. The last strand returned to Wang Lin's body just as the symbols broke apart. As for the sword chi created by Ling Tianhou's divine sense, it dimmed greatly, yet its sharpness did not diminish. The broken symbols, though shattered, transformed into countless golden lights, enveloping the sword chi and forming a golden light prison. Although the prison couldn't hold the sword chi for long, it could contain it for now. Damage to the primordial spirit was a devastating blow for any cultivator. Wang Lin's eyes turned bloodshot, and his heart of slaughter surged within him. Now that he had come this far, there was no turning back. His body suddenly surged forward, leaping over the trapped divine sense and heading straight for the deepest part of the crevice. With one step, he was almost there. Before him, on the ground, hung a completely purple spirit body. This spirit body was none other than Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi's eyes were tightly shut, his face showing a look of confusion. His entire body, except for his brow, was covered in purple. The purple seemed almost alive, writhing across his body, and on his face, it twisted into strands of purple silk, attempting to devour the golden light at the center of his brow. Below Zhou Yi, on the ground, lay a formation roughly 3 zhang in size. Thin strands of purple chi rose from it, transforming into runes that fused into Zhou Yi's body. At the 4 cardinal points of this formation stood 4 treasured swords, and lightning flashed from them, sinking into the earth below. Simultaneously, 3 of the 4 swords bore glowing orbs, about the size of fists, hovering above them. A massive divine sense emanated from these 3 orbs. Senior Zhou Yi. After many years, Wang Lin finally saw Zhou Yi again, but now, Zhou Yi was completely surrounded by purple chi. If the golden light at his brow were to dissipate, he would become entirely the property of Ling Tianhou, losing any chance of awakening. This seal and the formation that refined Zhou Yi were created by Ling Tianhou himself. He called this formation the Great Immortal Refining and Demon Transformation Array. Though powerful, the core of the array lay in the 4 swords on the ground. Ling Tianhou had once refined 4 miniature worlds into 4 primordial spirit swords. The 4 swords here were projections of those primordial spirit swords. To increase their power, Ling Tianhou had infused 4 strands of divine sense into them, thus making the formation even stronger. The purple chi floating within the formation was demon chi, originating from the remnant soul of an ancient demon in Water Demon Province. Ling Tianhou had secretly entered the land of demon spirits years ago to seal Zhou Yi here because of his past dealings with the ancient demon's remnant soul from Water Demon Province, a relationship both delicate and complex. The crack in the ground was a hidden vein, lying beneath the earth and directly connecting to the ancient demon temple of the imperial capital in Water Demon Province. This allowed the remnant soul of the ancient demon to constantly release demon chi, which traveled along the hidden vein to be absorbed by the formation, turning into a sealing energy that eroded Zhou Yi's spirit body. Ling Tianhou and the remnant soul of the ancient demon from Water Demon Province had struck a deal. After Ling Tianhou sealed Zhou Yi here, the deal was effectively concluded. The 9 demon provinces, with their 9 demon souls, each had their own plans. The ancient demon in Water Demon Province sought to find a spirit body capable of withstanding its demon power, enabling it to fully awaken. This process was slow but steady. Once the golden light at Zhou Yi's brow was devoured, he would become the body of the ancient demon from Water Demon Province. Ling Tianhou was not clairvoyant. Instead, Zhou Yi had been chasing him ever since he was pursued out of the immortal realm. This spirit body had been forcibly enhanced to the immortal sword spirit by the white-clad corpse, gaining tremendous divine abilities. Furthermore, after Ling Tianhou was injured by the corpse's immortal finger seal, their battles had left Ling Tianhou in a very pitiful state. In Ling Tianhou's view, the sword spirit was determined to die, willing to sacrifice everything, even releasing the limited life-bound sword chi of the Rain Immortal Sword. The Rain Immortal Sword was the supreme treasure of the Rain Immortal realm. Though Ling Tianhou had obtained one, he dared not use it in front of Zhou Yi. He knew that if he did, Zhou Yi would immediately control it. Though Ling Tianhou was powerful, he had been wounded by the corpse's immortal finger seal, a powerful technique with a fearsome reputation. In Ling Tianhou's experience, he could almost confirm that this immortal finger seal was no technique any immortal lord could wield. It was a top-tier immortal art that only an immortal emperor could use. One finger had left him wounded, and with Zhou Yi recklessly unleashing the life-bound sword chi of the rain sword spirit, Ling Tianhou had been left in a sorry state. However, Ling Tianhou's strength was unquestionable. After this, he led Zhou Yi into the land of demon spirits, using the strange nature of this place to capture him completely and fulfill his agreement with the ancient demon of Water Demon Province. It was a twofold gain for Ling Tianhou, but he had not predicted that hundreds of years later, Wang Lin's appearance would change everything. Inside the crack, Wang Lin looked at Zhou Yi, whose body radiated intense death energy. His heart had died the moment Tingo passed away many years ago.